Let's take you back to that story about events in Parliament yesterday, where efforts by some opposition parties to adopt the Section 89 independent panel report failed. 148 MPs voted in favour of adopting the report, while 214 voted against the move. An independent panel probe found that President Ramaphosa may have a prima facie case to answer regarding the theft of about $580,000 from his Phala Phala farm in 2020. We were trying to connect with Dr Sam Koma earlier via Zoom, but he's on the phone line now. Very good day to you once again, Dr Koma. When we got cut, you were still explaining your thoughts about that assertion by two political parties, at least including the EFF, that Parliament initiated this process, financed it, and should go ahead and see it to its finality. And you say you disagree.
Yes, I disagree with that proposition because already there is a review process that is ongoing, and the Concord will still have to look into the application that has been made by the President and arrive at a determination. So it would be futile, in fact, for Parliament to proceed to debate, vote, and also make a determination as to whether the President should face an impeachment proceeding through the setting up of the impeachment committee. So the debate is now moot, and as I said earlier, the report is now politically buried for now, because we have to await for the Concord ruling. If the Concord rules in favour of Parliament, then the report will be revised and the process will start again in terms of the debate and also the setting up of the impeachment committee.
The outcomes of this process, of course, have not been divorced from processes within the ANC, especially with the party heading to its electoral conference. Analysis this morning saying that unity displayed in Parliament will not be extended to the elective conference starting in a few days. What are your thoughts about this assertion?
Yeah, in fact, it's not surprising how the majority of the ANC MPs voted yesterday. You remember already there was an ANC NEC directive that said we reject this particular report. We don't even note the content of this report. And this is the directive that was articulated to the parliamentary ANC caucus yesterday before the sitting of Parliament. So they voted according to the party line, which is an established political practice elsewhere in the world. And in fact, I find it interesting that opposition parties want to find political moral authority to lecture ANC MPs on how to handle this report and also to vote in favor of their motion, whereas these are the very same opposition parties that have removed councillors in the city of Joburg who voted in support of the election of the former mayor, Tata Morero. Councillors from the DA, Action SA, and also ACDP were removed for defying the party line. So why is it different when it's supposed to apply to the ANC MPs in terms of holding the party line and also respecting the directive given by their own party?
Well, 5 members didn't hold the party line, and we're asking our viewers today, and would like to extend the question to you as well, what will happen to the 5 members who voted yes? And I know the spotlight is on Kokta Minister Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, but just how will the ANC approach this? We know Gwede Mantashe had said some sort of disciplinary process will be followed, but how will this work?
Yes, so what it means is that the ANC parliamentary chief whip will now have to action this particular matter through the ANC internal disciplinary process by reporting these individuals who are now supposed to be subjected to an internal disciplinary process that will likely arrive at different sanctions. In other instances, it could be a reprimand. The harsher sanction will be expulsion from the ANC, because the ANC has set a precedent You remember at some point we had 8 motions of no confidence against the former president, President Zuma, and majority of the ANC MPs voted against such motions. So a precedent has been set already, and going forward, the ANC, I see them handling this particular process seriously and subjecting these individual ANC MPs to the internal dispute processes.
Wow.
And also, on Friday, it's likely when the ANC conference sits. Remember, the ANC conference is the highest decision-making body. So when it sits on Friday, it is likely that there could be other delegates who present a matter before the plenary of the ANC conference to say, can we look into this particular conduct and behavior of our deployees in Parliament, and for this conference to make a determination. So that is also likely to transpire.
Really interesting. You talk about expulsion. Would never have thought of that word. Let's juxtapose it to what you said earlier, that the Section 89 report is politically buried, were your words.
Yes.
Is it really? Is it really as the ANC enters the conference?
Come again, Desiree.
You were saying earlier that the Section 89 report is politically buried.
Yes.
And one wonders, is it really? Will the conference delegates consider it buried?
No, yes, there could be, you're right, Desiree. It is likely that come Friday, there could be other delegates who are saying, no, why can't this high decision-making body of the ANC deliberate on this Phala Phala report, the expert report, and make a determination. So it is likely that there could be a section of the branch delegates who are saying, no, let's put this matter up for debate as a conference and make a determination as to the way forward. Should Parliament hold the President accountable based on this report, or should ANC wait for the finalization of this judicial review that has been launched by the President before Parliament can proceed to make a determination around this matter? So you are quite right. Those are two scenarios that are likely to play out come Friday.
Dr. Koma, just in terms of the conference itself, one of the people who abstained from voting is also a runner-up, a contestant to be president of the African National Congress, Dr. Zwelini Mkhize. Just take us through the chances of the two front runners taking into consideration the results of yesterday's voting process. And also, are there any possibilities of any surprises coming from the floor? Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma says she's still in the running.
Yes, interesting development yesterday, what happened in Parliament, especially with the abstention of ANC MP Zwelini Mkhize. I think it was more of political calculation and also expediency on his part. I suspect that he realized that if he were to sit in that proceeding and also vote for a yes, for example, that may have an effect come Friday in terms of consolidating his support base. But if history is anything to go by, the three successive national elective conferences of the ANC have demonstrated to us that the presidential candidate with the most branch nominations tend to emerge victorious. It happened in 2007 in Polokwane, in 2012 in Mangaung, and also in 2017 in Nazareth. So at the moment, President Ramaphosa is leading with the most branch nominations. My take is that he's likely to emerge victorious because there's no serious contender this time around compared to what transpired or happened in 2017. And the history of the ANC in terms of its elective conference and succession planning, it has never experimented with a floor nomination of a presidential candidate. So it will be unprecedented if this were to happen on Friday, if there is a floor nomination for a presidential candidate to emerge from the floor. But I don't see that happening, given the historical record of the ANC.
Dr. Sam Koma, thank you for your time this morning. Dr. Koma is a governance expert and political analyst.